It was a cold, rainy afternoon in June, the kind of weather that makes the air feel heavy and sad. The roads just outside the city of Makuri were a mess. Half dug up from construction, half swallowed by puddles so wide they looked like little brown lakes. Cars splashed through them, and every passing truck threw muddy water into the air. Along the side of the road, an old woman was walking slowly, one careful step after another. Her long, faded dress clung to her thin legs, and she leaned hard on a crooked wooden stick. Her gray hair peeked out from under a scarf. She kept her eyes down, trying her best to avoid the mud that could so easily pull her down. Then, from behind, came the roar of an engine. Low and smooth, too polished for the dirty road. A shiny black BMW sped toward her, the rain bouncing off its perfect surface. Inside sat Chidinma Adelica, dry, warm, and comfortable in her expensive car. Her fingernails were painted, her perfume sweet, and her music played softly through hidden speakers. She should have simply driven past. But as she looked at the old, slow-moving woman, something ugly twisted in her mind. A cruel little smile crept across her lips. "Let's see how she likes this," Chidinma muttered. She pushed the gas pedal down. The tires cut through the biggest puddle near the woman. Splash! A mountain of filthy brown water rose up and rained down all over the old woman. The poor woman screamed quietly in shock. Her clean dress was no longer clean. It clung to her body, soaked and stinking of oil and mud. Water dripped from her hair and into her eyes. She wiped her face helplessly. Meanwhile, Chidinma stopped her car just long enough to laugh, a deep, mean laugh. She rolled down her window and shouted, "Look at you now! Maybe next time you'll stay off the road where rich people drive." The old woman didn't shout back. She didn't curse her. She only looked at Chidinma, her tired eyes heavy with something that wasn't anger. It was sadness, deep and quiet. Tears ran down her wrinkled cheeks, mixing with the mud. "Ha!" Chidinma snorted. "This is what happens when poor people don't know their place." She even took out her phone and recorded a short video of the shaking, drenched woman struggling to wipe her face. "My friends will die laughing when they see this," she said to herself, smiling proudly at her own cruelty. Several pedestrians had seen everything happen, but no one said a word. Everyone knew the Adelica family, their money, their lawyers, their power. People pretended not to notice. The old woman, silent as ever, bent down, picked up her walking stick from the mud, and gave Chidinma one last look. Then she turned and walked away, limping through the puddles, rain falling around her like tears from the sky. Chidinma shrugged and drove off as if nothing had happened, still laughing. She called her best friend as soon as she hit the main road. "Funky, guess what?" she said between laughs. "I just splashed an old woman with muddy water. You should have seen her face." Her friend Funke gasped in amusement. "Chidinma, that's so mean," she said, but her voice wasn't shocked. It was entertained. "Mean? It was hilarious," Chidinma replied, grinning. "Poor people need to learn a lesson." The two girls laughed together, and then Chidinma spent the rest of the afternoon shopping and gossiping with her friends. She proudly showed them the video, and they all laughed until tears ran down their cheeks. By evening, she drove home to her family's grand mansion, a palace made of marble and glass. It had 20 rooms, a swimming pool that sparkled like liquid silver, gardens trimmed to perfection, and servants who bowed when she walked past. Her father, Chief Bio Adelica, was one of the most powerful men in the region, and he ruled both his home and his businesses with the same confidence. That night, at dinner, she bragged to him about a new handbag and some small gossip, but she didn't mention the old woman. Her father, between bites of his steak, said proudly, "I'm flying to Dubai tomorrow for a deal that will double our fortune. Soon we'll be richer than anyone in Makuri." "Papa," she laughed, "we already have more money than we can ever spend." He chuckled and nodded. Still, it never hurts to have more. In their bright dining room, with servants standing by the walls and music humming, they both felt untouchable, safe behind riches, certain that nothing could ever change their lives. But the next morning shattered that illusion. The phone rang just after sunrise. Chidinma mumbled sleepily, "Hello?" Her father's voice came rushing through the line, breathless, panicked, and trembling, something she had never heard before. "Chidinma, wake up, turn on the news. Channel 7 now." He hung up before she could ask why. Confused, she turned on the television. The headline struck her like a slap across the face. Breaking news. Chief Adelica's business empire collapses. Billionaire loses. Everything an international scam. The reporter's voice filled the room. Chief Bio Adelica invested heavily in a company based in Dubai that has now vanished with all client funds. His accounts are frozen, his assets seized. Authorities say the entire empire has fallen within hours. Chidinma's hands went cold. Her phone rang again. It was her father. "Papa, please tell me this isn't real," she cried. His reply was quiet, broken. "It's all gone, Chidinma. The houses, the cars, the bank accounts, everything. I'm stranded in Dubai. I don't even have money to pay the hotel bill." Her body shook. "But our house? My car?" she asked, desperate for something to hold on to. "The bank will take them. I used everything we owned as collateral. I thought I was making us even richer, but I made us poor." His voice cracked into silence. "Pack a small bag. Leave the house before they arrive." The phone slipped from her hand. When she looked outside her bedroom window, black cars were already in the driveway. Men in suits and police officers stood at the gate. The wolves, as her father once called them, had come early. Within minutes, they entered the house. One man, cold and efficient, said, "Miss Adelica, you have 30 minutes to take what's yours." "This is my house," she screamed. "Not anymore," the man said flatly. "It now belongs to the bank." She ran upstairs, to her giant walk-in closet lined with gold hangers and designer dresses. The man followed. "Only essentials," he said. "Normal clothing." She reached for her jewelry box, but he stopped her. "Assets. Those stay." Her face twisted with disbelief. "These are mine." "They belong to the bank now." Tears burned down her cheeks as she grabbed a few clothes, stuffed them into a small bag, and watched strangers walk through her home like it was a museum display. In half an hour, she was pushed out through the tall front doors, out of the home where she'd grown up, carrying nothing but a single bag. The guard she'd once commanded didn't even meet her eyes. Outside the gates, the world felt unbearably real. Noisy, hot, crowded. The ground she'd splashed with her car only days ago now seemed cruelly familiar. She called her friends. One by one, none answered. Finally, Funk picked up. "Funka," Chidinma sobbed. "They took everything. I have nowhere to go." There was a long pause. Then Funk's voice turned cold. "I'm sorry, Chidinma. My parents said we can't be seen with you. It's bad for our family's reputation." The line went dead. The silence that followed was louder than the city traffic. When night fell, Chidinma had no home, no food, no one left. She wandered the streets until she found a dark alley behind the shopping mall she once bragged about visiting. She crouched between two overflowing trash cans, clutching her bag, flinching at every sound. The rain returned, as cold and hard as the day before. By midnight, her clothes were soaked, her teeth chattering. This was what it meant, she realized. To have nothing, not even dignity. The next day, she tried asking for help from people who used to work for her father. They avoided her eyes. Some even crossed the street when they saw her. "Sorry, Miss Chidinma," one muttered. "We can't be seen helping you." By the third day, she sat near a busy market, weak with hunger. Her once beautiful hair tangled and dirty. People passed by without recognizing her, or maybe pretending not to. The proud, rich girl was gone. Then a gentle voice broke through the noise. "Chidinma? Is that really you?" She looked up and saw Neka, the housemaid she had fired months ago for a silly, petty reason. Shame flooded Chidinma's face, and before she could speak, tears began rolling down. Neka knelt beside her in the dust. "What happened to you?" she asked softly. "We lost everything," Chidinma whispered between sobs. "I'm so hungry. I don't know what to do." Neka looked at her with pity. Not anger, not pride, only compassion. The sight of the once arrogant girl, broken and humbled, made her heart ache. "This is not normal," Neka said. "Rich people don't lose everything so fast. Something is wrong." Neka went and bought Chidinma a plate offers and a bottle of water. Chidinma ate so fast, like an animal. It was the best food she had ever tasted. As she ate, Neka watched her. "Think hard," Neka said. "Did you do anything unusual right before you lost everything? Did you hurt someone?" Chidinma couldn't think of anything. "No, it was a business scam. Think harder," Neka insisted. "Even small action can have big results." Then Chidinma remembered the cold afternoon, the muddy road, the old woman. She remembered splashing the woman on purpose and laughing. She told Neka the whole story. As she spoke, Neka's eyes got wide with fear. Chidinma, Neka whispered. "That was a very dangerous thing to do. You don't know who that old woman was." "What do you mean?" Chidinma asked. "You think she did this to us?" Neka shook her head. "I think we need to see Baba Akbar. He is a wise man. He can tell us if this is a spiritual problem." Neka took Chidinar to a poor part of town she had never seen before. They went to the small house of an old wise man named Baba Akbar. Baba Akbar looked at Chidmar for a long time without speaking. His eyes seemed to see right into her soul. "I see darkness around you," he finally said in a quiet voice. "A heavy shadow is over your family." Chidinma felt a chill. "You have been cursed," Baba Akbar said. The words hit her like a rock. "A curse," she whispered. "Yes," he said, nodding. "You hurt someone who is protected by the spirits. The spirits are angry. They took your family's money to punish you for being wicked. But I only splashed an old woman with water, Chidinar cried. I didn't kill her. Baba Akbar's eyes narrowed. Sometimes the worst sins are not killing. He said, it is how we treat the weak. That old woman was not just anyone. You did not just make her dirty, you insulted her spirit. Chedinma felt sick. This sounded like a crazy story, but what else could explain how her life had been destroyed so fast? Can you remove the curse? Neka asked. Baba Akbar shook his head. I cannot, he said. Only the person you hurt can forgive you and remove the curse. You must find this old woman. You must go to her and be truly sorry. If she forgives you from her heart, the curse will be lifted. A small bit of hope appeared in Chidimma's heart. It was a chance to fix everything. I'll find her, Chidimma said, full of new energy. I'll find her, and I will apologize. Chidimma started her search at the same muddy road where she had splashed the woman. It looked different now, sunny and dry. She felt like a stranger there. She spent days asking people if they knew the old woman. I'm looking for an old woman with a walking stick, she would say. But because she looked poor and dirty, most people just ignored her. They didn't want to talk to a beggar. It was a painful lesson. She had made the old woman feel invisible, and now she was invisible too. She started to lose hope. The city was too big. Maybe she would be stuck like this forever. One day, she asked a man about the incident. Did you see a white car splash an old woman here? Yes, I saw that, the man said, looking angry. It was a wicked thing to do. Why are you asking? I need to find her. To help her, Chidimma mumbled. The man sneered. Help her now. Where was the help when the rich girl was laughing? He turned his back on her. The shame burned inside her. Her mean joke had been public, and now her search for forgiveness was public too. She sat by the road and cried, feeling like all hope was gone. Just when she was about to give up, a young man selling newspapers walked up to her. His name was Takimi. Are you still looking for that old woman? He asked. Yes, she said, surprised. Do you know her? Maybe, he said. There is an old woman named Mama Ani who lives in a poor area called Wadada. She walks this way to the market. People say she is very kind. The name felt right. Can you take me there? Chidinma begged. I will pay you when I can. Timi looked at her desperate face and agreed to help. They took a bus to Wadata. Chidinma had never seen a place so poor. The houses were small and made of mud, and the streets were narrow and dirty. She felt terrible thinking that the kind old woman lived here and had to walk so far every day. Takimi asked people for Mama's house. Everyone knew her and pointed the way. Finally, they found her small house, but there was a crowd of people outside. Some women were crying softly. The men were talking in sad, quiet voices. A feeling of sadness was all around. What's happening? Tami asked one of the women. The woman looked up, her eyes red. Mama died last night, she said sadly. She was a good woman. She always helped everyone. The words hit Chidima like a punch. Dead, the word repeated in her head. It couldn't be true. She was so close. Dead, she whispered. She's dead. Yes, the woman said, sheedied peacefully in her sleep. We're getting ready for her funeral. The tiny bit of hope Chidima had been holding onto was gone. The only person who could save her was dead. The door was closed forever. A loud, sad cry came from deep inside her. No, she can't be dead, she screamed. I need to talk to her. I need her to forgive me. She fell to her knees in the dirt and cried harder than she ever had before. The people who were mourning looked at her confused. They didn't know who this strange crying girl was. Did you know Mama Ina? A man asked. Before she could answer, Tima gently pulled her up. She's not feeling well, he told the crowd and led her away. He took her to a quiet place to sit. As she slowly calmed down, she told him the whole story. The splash, the curse, and her search. Timi listened quietly and did not judge her. When she was finished, he was silent for a long time. You are very cruel, he said at last. His simple words felt heavy with truth. But now, he added sadly, it's too late to fix it. They went back to see Baba Akbar. When the wise man saw Chidin Marsad's face, he knew what had happened. The old woman is gone, he said. Chidmar could only nod. Baba Akbar shook his head sadly. Then it is finished, he said. The curse cannot be undone now. Only she could have lifted it. Isn't there anything I can do? Chidnar pleaded. A sacrifice? Anything? Nothing, Baba Akbar said kindly but firmly. The dead cannot forgive. Her spirit is gone and it remembers what you did. Your family will stay poor. You will now know how it feels to have nothing. This is the price you must pay for being cruel. Chedinma fell to her knees. Please, she whispered. There must be another way. There are no second chances when a life has ended. The wise man said, You were too late. You must accept your new life and live with what you have done. His words were final. There would be no magic to save her. There was only a long, hard life of regret waiting for her. The darkness was here to stay. Months went by. Chidima learned how to survive on the street. One evening, she saw a thin, tired man standing in the doorway of the broken building where she slept. He wore a dirty, torn suit. It was her father. He'd returned from Dubai with nothing. He'd found her by asking other homeless people if they had seen her. They just stared at each other. They were two ghosts from a rich past, now together in their poor new life. They started to live together on the streets. They begged for food where her father once made big business deals. They saw their old friends drive by in fancy cars, pretending not to see them. The great chief Adelika now had to ask strangers for money. The proud Chidma was now happy to find old bread in the trash. The shame was a heavy weight they carried every day. Every day was a painful reminder of the life they had lost. One day they were begging outside a hotel. A rich man vows to be her father's partner walked out. He saw them, but he quickly looked away and got into his car. Another day, Chidma saw girls who looked just like her old friends coming out of a store. One of them looked at Chidima with disgust. "Ugh, get a job," the girl said. Chidima remembered her own cruel laughter and felt sick. Security guards who once opened doors for her now chased her away. "Get out of here, beggar," they would yell. She learned what it felt like to be truly hungry and cold. But worst of all, she learned what it felt like to be laughed at. Every mean look from a stranger was like seeing a reflection of her own ugly behavior. One night during a heavy rain, they sat in their cold shelter. They were sharing a small piece of bread. Chidima looked at her father. He looked so old and defeated. She felt a huge wave of guilt. "Papa, I'm sorry," she whispered. "This is all my fault." "What do you mean?" hesked. "It was the greed." "No," she said, "it was me." She told him the whole story, the splash, the laughter, the curse, and how she was too late to say sorry to Mama Ina. Her father listened to the whole story without a word. When she was finished, he had tears in his eyes. "I always taught you that money made us better than other people," he said sadly. "I was wrong. Money doesn't make you a good person. How we treat others is what makes us human. I failed you, Chidima. I gave you everything but a good heart. But it's too late to learn that lesson now," she cried. "Maybe," her father whispered. "We needed to lose everything to find our humanity." Together in the dark, they finally understood the terrible mistake they had made. Years passed. People forgot about Therichadela family. Chedinma and her father were now just two of the many poor people on the streets of Makuri. Some people were kind to them. Others signored them or laughed at them. For Chidima, every day was a reminder of what she had done. But the thing that hurt the most was the memory of Mama's face. Every night she would see the old woman's sad eyes. She saw the quiet strength the woman had, even when she was being humiliated. Mama was poor, but she had a special kind of richness inside her that Chidma never had. Chidima finally understood that real value is not about money. It's about being a good person. But learning this lesson didn't change anything. The curse or the consequences of her actions remained. Knowing she was wrong didn't bring back their home or their old life. One evening, Chidinmar sat with her very old father on the side of the road. A young, happy couple walked by. "So sad," the woman said to her partner. "They say they used to be billionaires." Chidinma didn't even react anymore. She closed her eyes and saw Mama N's face one more time. She remembered the woman's sad look. It wasn't an angry look. It was just a look that saw exactly how cruel Chidima had been. She'd learned the hardest lesson of all. You can't always fix your mistakes. And being cruel, especially to someone who is weak, can cost you everything. Her life became a lesson for everyone. Always be kind. Treat everyone with respect. The world can change in a second, and the person you look down on today might be more important than you could ever imagine. She learned that meanness is like a debt, and one day you always have to pay it back. Chidma and her father, who now relied on her to find their daily bread, were shivering near a busy market street one wet evening. They were sharing a sheltered spot when Chidma saw a small tragedy unfold. A young boy, no older than 7, was crying silently. He had been carrying a small bowl of cooked rice for his family, and in a clumsy moment, he had tripped, spilling the entire meager meal into the dirt. The sight of the boy's despair was a mirror to Chidmar's own old life. Cher remembered how angry she used to get over a trivial thing like a smudge on her car or a slow waiter. Now she understood that a bowl of rice was the difference between hunger and sleep. She reached into the tattered pouch tied around her waist. It held the 2 pieces of stale bread she and her father were meant to share the next morning. Without a second thought, she walked over to the boy. "It's okay," she said, kneeling, her voice soft. "Here." She handed him 1 piece of the bread. The boy looked at her dirty hands, then at the bread. his eyes wide with surprise and doubt. Heffenly took it and ran off, not even looking back. Chidinma sat down again. She had just given away half of their next day's food, but she felt a small, unfamiliar warmth in her chest. It was a feeling far better than the empty satisfaction of buying something new. In giving away the last thing she had, she gained a different kind of richness. The priceless ability to feel true empathy. She finally understood the kindness Mama N possessed. A goodness that existed, regardless of money. Chidinma's tiny act of charity did not bring back her home or her comfort. The consequence of the curse was still the hard framework of her life. But now her heart had changed inside the cage. She continued her quiet work of penance. She would spend her days helping others who were even weaker than she was. A sick elderly man, a lost child, or another beggar too frail to stand. She never sought thanks or reward. She simply needed to prove to herself that she was a different person. Now, one afternoon, standing outside the gates of her old mansion, which was now painted a new cold shade of gray by the bank that owned it, she felt a heavy clarity. The curse wasn't just a punishment that took her money. It was the eternal burden of regret that forced her to live a life of selfless humility. The debt she owed to Mama N was not something that could be paid off with money or magic. It had to be paid with a lifetime of service and suffering. She closed her eyes and saw the muddy water splash in slow motion. The old woman's face shocked, and her own cruel laughing reflection in the car window. She opened her eyes, seeing only the high, indifferent wall of the mansion. Her old life was gone forever. Chedinma knew she would never again be rich in gold. But she had become rich in the only thing that mattered, a good, broken, and deeply sorry heart. She took her father's arm and helped him walk away from the gate, away from the past, towards the endless, humble road that was now their home. This was her price. This was her penance, and she knew without any hope of reprieve that the price would be paid, one cold, hungry, regretful day at a time, until the very end. The lesson was learned, but the debt would never fully be erased.